So we are live. First and foremost, just want to say thank you to each and every one of you for coming together to talk about this very serious and really important topic and speaking to all of our teams and our staff about opioid awareness, the effects of it, and also prevention methods as well. So from left to right, you have Lisa B. right there. You have Sheriff Scheffler, and then you have our very own Loreal ElleVintage. And this is a collaborative grant funded by the Horizon Foundation for the Boys and Girls Club in Southern New Jersey to help teens become more aware of opioid addiction, plus the reality of the situation. The club is here to not only educate you, but to be a place that can support you as you might be confronted with drug use plus drug addiction in our own community, which we all know is readily available, especially here in Atlantic City. So I want you guys to really pay attention, ask questions, be engaged, don't be shy, don't be too cool to get the information you need, and really listen as well as pay attention. But first and foremost, I want you to give all of our speakers a hand. Apologize for that. So what we're going to start off with is just a quick introduction. I'm going to have each speaker share a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your story. And we will start off with Lisa.
I am honored to speak. I take the best way to tell stories from the beginning. I am the mother of 3 children. We are not children. My children grew up in a lovely home, surrounded by grandparents and family. As in all families, we had our share of ups and downs, and at times like this challenging, but all in all, we were blessed. We did family ski trips with friends, celebrated the holidays with family, and birthdays were always special. My 3 children are my mom, and in my eyes, they were all special. But there was something different about them. His kind heart, humble ways, his ability to have compassion for others was remarkable. Matthew was incredibly talented, a gift back, surfer, and snowboarder. When he was 5, we went on a Maui ski trip, and I was going up the hill with an instructor because I didn't have his help. And I instructed him, said to me, gosh, that little boy. And he was coming down the hill, speeding down, and I noticed and it was Matthew. And you understand we could get little devil horns to identify because he was only 5 years old. That's incredible stuff. Matthew would go on to break records on the football field and become a local legend. From the outside, it seemed to have the world at his fingertips, but on the inside, he suffered from anxiety and depression. Matthew returned to self-medicate, and by the age of 19, he was addicted to heroin. There was nothing that I and my husband wouldn't do for Matthew. We loved him unconditionally as his brother and sister, and the entire family. We let him restore and return when he came back and Matthew's addiction. But no treatment, counseling, or love was strong enough to save him from his craving disease. Matthew passed away at the age of 20, and my life changed forever. I spent countless days, years, but ultimately, I changed my son's life by being a gift of life to people who may be suffering from addiction, who otherwise cannot go to place to treatment fading. I am proud of Matthew and the good work we do in our community. I am deeply committed to raising awareness to the struggles of damage in our community and I am committed to all of you. Each and every one of you here tonight and the youth of our community are our greatest children of war on drugs. You have the power to change the world and do anything you set your mind to. So thank you so much.
Thank you for sharing. Before we have you start, I'm actually going to see if we can hook up the mic only because the rain is making it a little harder to hear. So just give us one brief second, and the buttons in the pictures. What's up? Okay. All right, everybody on Facebook, the audio is mixed out. All right, perfect. Yeah, I know it was a little bit of a lot, but if you don't mind, we would love to have you just kind of share that again. I wasn't sure everybody was here. Yeah. Not too much? All right, you mind sharing? Yeah.
Powerful story. Definitely it's powerful testimony.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to make sure they don't miss it. Turn it up a little bit, Charles.
I know I was off this. Good evening. Yes. Good evening. It is an honor to be here with you tonight. I think the best way to tell a story is from the beginning. I am the mother of 3 children, Brianna, Matthew, and John. My children grew up in a loving home, surrounded by grandparents and family that adored me. As in all families, we had our share of ups and downs, and at times life was challenging. But all in all, we were blessed. We did family ski trips with friends, celebrated the holidays with family, and birthdays with always special. My 3 children were my world, and in my eyes, they were all special. But there was something different about Matthew. His kind heart and humble ways, his ability to have compassion for others was remarkable. Matthew was incredibly talented, a gifted athlete, a surfer, and snowboarder. When he was 5, we were on a family ski trip. I was going up the hill with an instructor by my side, and he looked over and saw this little boy coming down the mountain. And he said, "Wow, that kid's unbelievable, look at him." And I immediately knew it was my son. He was only 5 years old. He had little double horns on, and he just always shined his talent and ability to do things. He was just absolutely remarkable. Matthew would go on to break records on the football field and become a local legend. From the outside, he seemed to have the world at his fingertips, but on the inside, he suffered quietly with anxiety and depression. Matthew returned to self-medicating, and by the age of 19, was addicted to drugs. There was nothing that I and my husband wouldn't do for Matthew. We loved him unconditionally, as did his brother, sister, and entire family. We left no stone unturned when it came to battling Matthew's addiction. But no treatment, counseling, or love was strong enough to save him from the gripping disease. Matthew passed away at the age of 21, and my life would change forever. I spent countless days of tears, but ultimately I chose to honor my son's life by giving the gift of life to people in our community that suffer from addiction who otherwise could not afford the life-saving treatment that they need. I am proud of the Matthew Memorial Fund and the good work we do in our community. I am deeply committed to raising awareness of the drug epidemic in our community, and I am committed to all of you. Each and every one of you here tonight, and the youth of our community, are our greatest hope on the war on drugs. You have the power to change the world and do anything you set your mind to. Thank you.
sharing it in action. And you have a very powerful testimony. And I encourage you to honestly keep sharing that because it's going to be great for a lot of people. So next up, we're going to have Sheriff Scheffler. He's going to share a little bit about who he is and what he does as well, what he has to offer.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa, for sharing. So quickly, a little bit about me. I'm born and raised here in Atlantic City, born in Atlantic City Hospital, and graduated of Atlantic City High School. Also a graduate of ACC and eventually Stockton. I spent most of my adult life as a police officer in this town, and I retired in 2015 as a lieutenant. Then, of course, I was lucky enough in 2017 to be elected sheriff of the county. I am the father of 6 children, 5 girls. And as we, it's not it's not that easy, but I'm blessed. And when I ran originally for sheriff, the opioid epidemic was a full-blown run, and it was something that has touched my family personally for a long time. So I said that I would definitely do something about it. And my oldest daughter, Allie, who today is in recovery, has been in and out of active addiction since she was 15 years old. She's lived on the streets of Atlantic City. She's done all kinds of things that she's not proud of, but it hasn't changed who she is as a human being. And I have personally put her in jail myself 3 times. And that might sound harsh, your father putting you in jail. But that active addiction was so strong and it had a hold of her so deeply that we couldn't figure out any other way but to put her in jail in order to keep her alive. And the truth of the matter is, one of her younger sisters, we were trying over and over, and I put her in and out of rehab almost probably 10 times. And this was when I was the commander of the midnight beat shift. I was lieutenant. I walked out into my roll call where my sergeants in my patrol division was, and I asked them to please look and find my daughter and put her in jail. And that actually came from her younger sister. When she came to me at one time and said, "Why can't we help Adam? Why can't we get a treatment?" I said, "Because at this point she's not willing to go." And she said, "Can't you get her arrested?" I said, "I probably could do that." And we did. And it was a long haul. And today she is in recovery and she has custody of her 2 kids. And she's doing really well. But it's a daily struggle, And it's interesting to listen to Lisa's son's story because Allie also suffers from anxiety and depression. And it's one of the things that led her to self-medicating and addiction. And it's interesting that when we think about people that are in active addiction, and at least my generation thought that if you did drugs or you became active addiction, you're just a bad person. You just were immoral. You deserve to be a drug addict. Well, that could be further from the truth, right? A lot of different things in our lives lead us into active addiction, and it's not because we're bad people. And everyone deserves to live a high quality life. And you have to understand that coming forward, abstinence is definitely the best thing, right? Don't do it, don't try it. Don't do drugs, we've all heard it. But there's so many different people that we watch, and even at your young age, people that do drugs, they do fine. They have jobs, they function, but there's all other people that do drugs that absolutely do not do fine and do not function. And unfortunately, we don't know who they are. The same thing when it comes to alcohol, right? We have alcoholics. More people die of alcohol disease than any other disease in this country. I think it's almost 3 times as many people die from alcoholism than from opioid overdoses every single year. But there's a lot of people that drink alcohol that are fine, right? I'm not saying that people that do heroin are fine. They're not. Unfortunately, it's one of those drugs that grab hold of your life and really put you down an unbelievable rabbit hole. But you have to understand that if it does happen, for whatever reason, coming forward is probably the bravest thing that you'll ever do. Asking for help. doesn't make you a bad person. There's nothing bad about it. There's nothing wrong with it. People care, and you're not going to be judged or labeled. Coming forward is something that you need to be able to do, because this is one of those things you can't kick yourself, for whatever reason that may be. So to bring the story a little bit full circle, a little bit over 2.5 years ago, I created a thing called the Hope One Project. Anyone ever see it on the street? Anyone ever hear about it? So I said I would do something about it, and they said, well, you don't know anything about addiction. I said, well, that's not absolutely true. I've lived it, day in and day out with my daughter, and I see it and understand it as a parent. However, they were right. And they told me, don't do it. Don't do this program. There's so many other services out there. There's so many other people you can duplicate. Well, the Hope One Project has become the most successful treatment placement program, not only in Atlantic County history, but in the state of New Jersey. And in the past little over 2.5 years, we put 1,300 people into treatment off the streets without insurance. And we've been able to connect them with treatment, and we've been able to work with them and create wraparound services to help them find jobs, sober living, housing, and be able to support them through their recovery process. And that's the interesting thing today, and you're young folks out here, each and every one of you probably have some type of support system that helped you do well, right? I mean, regardless of what your family unit may or may not look like, this place that you go to every day is a support system, right? Friends, family, people that care about you, people that have your best interests in mind. You're going to be supported in some way, some shape for the rest of your life. And we all are. Because I don't sit here as Atlantic County Sheriff because of Eric Scheffler. I sit here because I've had a support system throughout my entire life and through my ability to become Sheriff. And as I get older, I continue to have a continuous support system. And just because if you're an active addiction or a mental health issue and you need support, there's no shame to that, because we all get support every day in order to be functioning people. So I appreciate your time, and thank you so much.
Thank you for sharing. And have you seen the Hope One truck around?
Yeah.
You have? I know I have.
Yeah.
Nobody else seen it around? You guys have?
Last Thursday.
Last Thursday?
Y'all
I
never
see
seen
it
that?
all the time.
Y'all never seen that pink truck? It's like, is it pink or is it blue?
Yeah, the logo is pink.
Yeah, it's like one cop car that's in Atlantic City that has the logo on it.
Yeah, they were a part of it. But I see them all the time, and they're doing excellent work. I was at a walk last year. I forgot what it was for, but I believe it was like some type of walk for addiction and recovery. And the truck was there along with a bunch of other foundations. And that's how I first recognized it. So I definitely appreciate the work that you're doing. It's incredible. And just look forward to seeing what the future holds. But without further ado, we're going to have our very own Loreal. Let's see if we can bring this one up. You're going to throw my mic in. That works. I gotta get a wireless mic in. Our very own Loreal Sills, the kids, y'all know her as Elle. And we're gonna have you share a little bit about yourself, about your story, background, and then we'll dive a little deeper.
What's up, y'all? Listen, y'all know y'all gotta talk back to me, because if you don't talk back to me, I'll start talking back to you. Right? Call it like your name. I am Loreal, and I work here. This is our haven. This has become, Boys and Girls Club of Atlantic City has become one of my most important endeavors. It is a pride for me to be here, to work with the young people, because I was in their shoes. And I understand how it feels to not feel like you're supported, or to have someone to open up to talk to go through some of the things that you go through right in front of your parents' face. Actually, my 2 teenagers are here as well, because I think there's some brick-headed kids that I have to denounce. But my thing is, trying to give them an opportunity to find someone they can confide in and to trust in, and to be a part of something bigger. Because when we're out on the streets, it seems like the world is caving in on us. When you're in the village, or you're on Maryland Avenue, or you're on the opposite side of the city, maybe down by Sovereign, it feels like the world is caving in on you. Sometimes, as children, even when I was growing up, running the streets, it always felt like there was something caving in us. I too am one to open up and try to figure out what to do in terms of opioid awareness, and bringing our children, our young people, to a place where there is something they don't have to face. Peer pressure is crazy right now. So everything is about, I'm gonna smoke this blunt, I'm gonna smoke this L, I'm gonna get high. It feels like it's okay to come in or walk around in a mentality where you feel cloudy, where you don't have to think for something the next minute after the next, or to be like, I just don't wanna have to be bothered with anything. And a lot of times, even when I was a kid, just becoming a part of the in crowd, people always knew that I was different and I stood out, but I wanted to be accepted and I wanted to be a part of the in crowd. So I did drugs. I was drinking by the time I was 13. I was smoking weed by the time I was 14. And as an adult, I became more in depth with it because it was easy to access. I worked, and I smoked. I popped Oxycontins and I popped Tramadol. When you got from the hospital, I made sure I kept up with all my prescriptions just so I had enough. If you looked at my prescription closet or my medicine cabinet, it would be nothing but prescription drugs, things that was easy to get to. And most of the time, my medication was paid for by insurance, so I didn't have to pay for it out of pocket. And then I got it to the point where I was selling it. So people would say, yo, you have this, you got 50s, you got 5s. And I would sell it. On the street, it was easy to pass it off. Right there in front of a Lancare, the same place that prescribed me the pills. I would sell it off, bust money, on the streets as it stops. Because it was easy, because people that saw me, they knew I could get whatever they wanted, because the easy access was at my hands. When I was a child, my first bout with cocaine was at the hands of my molester. So in a rolled up dollar bill, that's what I was snorting and tasting and not even knowing as a child. And when my mother found these things out, it broke my heart. And I could do nothing about it because I was an adult just telling my mother about these things. And I could not do anything to help her heal because, again, I'm an adult. And I can't help her heal. I can only love her through the same process that she was loving to my mom. But my mother never knew that I was being molested. And it was scary because at the time I was told that my molester told me that they would kill my entire family. Knowing my family, at the time they were some of the biggest drug lords in the city or in Pleasant. And at the time, it was easy access to get to a gun. And I felt like for me to expound that information, to express that, my pain, to unload that, but to have my family out there exposed to the world, and I would lose some of the males that I loved in my heart to incarceration. And I couldn't fathom that. So here again, I'm saving the family, but no one's saving me. So I'm stuck in this hole, and no one's coming, no one's helping me, no one's loving on me, and no one knows. So I'm growing up with this secret, and it's like, oh, when is somebody ever gonna hear? And then at the same time, living with my stepfather was addicted. He had a strong addiction for crack cocaine and heroin. And he put us out in the cold, the brick cold of the winter, a baby and 3 other children and his wife. And we were living in Carmel back and forth. So for me, that thing became a part of my life and my testimony because that was what I was shown here. And I had to grow up with it. And it was just almost like you can't get away from it because that's who you are. You've been pinned with it. You know what I'm saying? You've been tagged, you're it. You can't get away from it. And the more you want to try to open up and tell people, the more they shut you out. Like, you don't know what you're talking about, you're lying. So I began to point out specifics, dates, times, and truths. And then it became, wow, that happened to you? And then it became, why would you expose your family like that? No amount of therapy could help. No amount of therapy. I had to go through this whole tunnel by myself. So I became that one high on the streets of Germantown, Philadelphia, in the wee hours of the morning, Brooklyn, New York, Manhattan, not knowing half of the people that's out there. But I got by because A, I had a stage name, and B, because people recognized my face. So I didn't have to worry about who would put their hands on me, because I would fight back even if I was high. And the crazy part about this is, not one person that said they was my friend came and opened up an access for me to help me. They just kept feeding me what they knew I would pay for, or what they knew what they could get their hands on. So it just became a part of my life. And I just, my hope in being here is to show these guys that they don't have to be alone. Is to express to them that no matter what we do here, there's an open access. You can come and talk to us at any time. You know what I mean? You can come and say, listen, this and that is happening. We'll be here. And to help them decipher through everything that that's going through their lives. That's my purpose here. Because I didn't have this right here. I didn't have this when I was a kid. I was roaming the streets, selling drugs at Jones' age, back and forth, doing stuff that I had no business doing things that no child should ever have to be exposed to. Getting a taste here, getting to sit there, and still at the same time leaving my whole body exposed to everything that was going on. So it's just, this right here is my purpose. And this is where I want to be. This is where I want to be able to reach out and help them figure out what they want to be in life.
Thank you, Elle, for sharing that. That's really the first time I've heard your testimony in that capacity. And it's extremely powerful, right? It's extremely powerful. So one more time, I want y'all to give it up for our speakers. Because the reality is, it takes a lot of courage to share different things like that. It's a lot harder to be vulnerable, to be transparent, to talk about and get the actual help that you need. So they're up here and they're very courageous and they're leading by example. So I want you to follow that example and also be courageous as well. And while some of this may be going in one ear and out the other, I really want you to lock in and pay attention. I really want you to ask questions now. This is a safe space. We want to keep this a safe space. You don't have many places like this, especially in Atlantic City, especially in South Jersey, for teenagers. Utilize this space. The staff here, they love you, and we have resources. And we're here to listen, and we're here to talk, and we're here to understand you, to better help you because we walked this path before you, and we made some major mistakes that could have took us out, that could have killed us or put us in prison. We could have made some major mistakes. So what we're doing is laying out a blueprint and letting you know where the booby traps are. We're giving you a cheat code. We're the cheat code. They're the cheat code. They know what to do. So I want you to utilize these resources. So now we're going to transition into our Q&A segment. And I'll start it off. I'll kick the questions off. And then I want you guys to join in and ask anything, staff included, ask questions. So I'm going to pose this question to all three of you. And I want to start with asking, what are the dangers of drugs and addiction? What are the dangers? Who wants to go first? You go first? All right.
Well, the true dangers of drug addiction is losing yourself, right? You lose yourself down a hole that you can't even recognize that you need help. And that's one of the things that, as family members and friends, if you recognize this in one of your family members, or you recognize this in a friend, not only should you be brave enough to confront that individual, but you may need to be brave enough to tell someone else, right? And it's not snitching on someone or being a rat or not being loyal, because you'll save that person's life. Because drug addiction truly changes the chemistry in your brain, and you cannot make those good decisions. And it really is a difficult thing to get away from. That's why they call it a disease. It changes you. And unfortunately, it will drive you down a hole. And a lot of people don't get that help until it's too, almost too late, or it ends up being too late.
Thank you. All right. Who wants to go next?
I'll go.
Go next. All right.
I do want to say that, first of all, I also had different outlets. As much as I was running, I had coaches that would come to me and be like, yo, I said no. And I was a star athlete. So, and this is how easy it was to do what I did and to play basketball and play sports, because I would be going from camp to camp playing for team. And my family, like I said, thought I was okay because I never said anything. And so that was my backdrop. That was my alibi. I got a game today. I got practice today. And right before practice, I was running into my dirt. And then after practice, doing my dirt. And yet, in that time, we didn't have drug tests. They didn't test us on the team. If they smelled it on you or they saw it in your eyes, that's when they approached you. But how many of y'all know we can clean it up? Oh, exactly. Thank you for being honest. You can clean it up, because it's nothing that a couple pieces of gum can't do with some eye drops, Visine, and that's what we do. But yet, on the inside, we dying. So for me, the thing about it is that you do, as Sheriff said, you lose yourself, and you're dying a little bit more every day. Every second of every minute of every hour of every day. Then you get so lost to where you're snapping at your family, where you're snapping at your friends. And that one person that's going to catch it is going to approach you. But guess what you do? You run for them too. Am I lying, Sheriff? You run for them too. Because then we think, okay, they're on to me, so I got to get to somebody else that is going to help me defend me against them. You know what I'm saying? So I had to come back and had to go back to what I love the most to help keep me out of that. And that was basketball, and that was writing. That's what I did.
Thank you for sharing that. It's right behind you. Sorry about that. And same for you, Yusuf. What are the dangers of drugs or drug addiction?
I think that Matthew's story is a prime example of someone who had an amazing life, who was gifted, talented, loved by his community, smart, anything that anybody could possibly imagine. And I wanna make a very valid point that never ever believe that taking a prescription drug is okay. If someone tells you that they have a prescription drug through its prescription, doesn't mean that that is okay. That is someone else's prescription, and you should never take that. I think there is a huge misconception for children, and people think, well, it's prescription, it should be okay. You can take that once, get addicted, and ultimately lose your life. Your life will spiral out of control, as Matthew said. You lose everything, your family, everything you worked for. It's not a life that I would want for anybody in this room or for anybody in the world. So those are the risks and dangers of drug use.
Thank you. Thank you. And real quick, before I have any of you ask questions, again, like I said before, you may or may not be listening, but realize that you're not, immune to this. That you're not Superman, that you're not Superwoman. Actually, statistics show that you're more likely to be on drugs than anybody else, especially being here. So again, I really want you guys to engage in this, and I'm going to open the floor now for questions. This is a great time to ask. You can direct it to anybody, it can be for everybody. I want to open the floor right now for questions. So anybody have a question? First question.
How did that overcome my tragedy that happened to when somebody
So, question. Did y'all ask questions? All right, I guess one thing.
I think that's a great question. How did I overcome that? I don't know that I ever will completely, but I did overcome it by doing things in my community to help out. Being here tonight, being with you all helps me to do something that's positive in my son's memory. Instead of sitting home and hold the covers over my head, which a lot of days I would like to. So to answer your question, I think doing something positive is the best way to overcome tragedy.
Thank you. You guys have any response to that question?
So the interesting thing is, the family unit that is involved with the person who has, is in active addiction or in recovery or has mental health issues, right? And we suffer right along. The truth of it is, I'm scared every day to get that phone call that my, daughter may relapse. Or when she was on the street, we had no idea where she was. I had people looking for her. I was waiting for that knock on my door to tell me that she's no longer with us. The fear is tremendous, but we have to have hope. We have to have hope in our lives that there's something better and we can do something to make it better. And again, the reason why Hope One exists in Atlantic County is because of my daughter, because I had to do more. And I actually, as sheriff, when I created Hope One, she was still in active addiction. And I actually put her in jail twice as the sitting sheriff of Atlantic County. And again, I know that sounds harsh, but I knew where she was and I knew she'd be alive. We had no other way to help her. So she's the oldest of my daughters. She's absolutely beautiful. But I came out of the movie theater one night in Northfield, and she was standing in front of me. I didn't recognize her. Because the drugs change you so much and destroy you from the inside out. I literally didn't recognize my own daughter. And I knew that, something more had to be done. It really is a scary, gripping thing.
Thank you. You want to answer that?
Yes. I just want to say that I overcame through my writing, because I am a poet and I'm a spoken word artist. But I also overcame by the grace of God first, because I never realized my worth, and for me to learn about this man, God, this Christ, was just wrapped his arms around me and started pulling me out of things slowly but surely. Things started shifting. And life began to take a different turn. And so when I started seeing things shift, and I started seeing myself in a better light, understanding my worth and understanding that I am worth love, and I do want love, and I do want life, you know what I'm saying? So I had to fight my way out of it. It's a very true statement. If you want something, if you want something to happen, you want something to change, you have to want it. You have to work for it. And sometimes we think that people will be able to give it to us, but people ain't gonna be able to satisfy that. People will not be able to satisfy. You might get married and your spouse or your wife doesn't satisfy that quenching. And it's okay, we can be honest about that. So what is? Are we gonna continue to keep giving ourselves away without finding what we're worth? Finding our worth and finding out how much we love ourselves? You gotta love yourself first. You gotta be able to impart it to yourself first, and when you can't, you're at your lowest, you're looking for everything else until you really come to that breaking moment. And I'm gonna be honest with you, some people make it out and some people don't. And that's where we have to get to ourselves and say, yo, I need to make it out of this. I can't do this. And I had to be like, yo, I can't do this no more. I can't. I was fighting myself, fighting people that said they love me, fighting my family. I just couldn't do it no more. And then not only that, like I said, I love my writing. My writing is what saved me. Poetry is what saved me, right? On top of that, I began to work for other places, volunteering for places like the Hanson Foundation, volunteering my artistry for people like the Hanson House and the Hanson Foundation, and for it's a drug corps up in Philly that I used to volunteer for, and they're with the AIDS Alliance, people that have full-blown AIDS, that were addicted and had addictions. I just volunteered my time. I didn't know what I was getting into, but I knew I wanted to be there with the very people that were struggling, just like I was, and I could find something else worth doing so that I could take my mind off all of the mess that was out here. And that's what I did. Volunteered my time. Got off of the streets. Somebody loved me enough to take me in while I was ripping and running because of the pressure back here. You know what I'm saying? So it is out there. There's love out there. You just got to know your worth and know that your worth changing. And all of the mess that's out there, you don't got to deal with it. You don't have to deal with that because there's people out there just like you that want somebody to be in their corner. They need an accountability partner. The people that's going to help pull them up. So that's what I do.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions?
This for Sheriff, when y'all first found out, like, I didn't know enough, how did y'all react like this? Because like that,
That's a good question, and a little bit embarrassing. So, my daughter is 31 years old today, and she's been in active addiction since she was 15 years old. So we're going back a few years, 16 years ago, when I was a police officer actively in Atlantic City. I think I was a sergeant at the time. I thought I knew what addiction was, and I thought I knew what recovery looked like. And I was ignorant, and I made a lot of mistakes, and I feel them, and maybe they're part of the drive to do better today. I was very narrow-minded. I didn't think she was a bad person, but I thought I knew the answer to, why she was addicted and what she should be doing to get and recover, and I did not, and today I'm a different person. 16-year journey, understanding it more on a different level, on a psychological level, on a disease level, on understanding all the different avenues to treatment. We can't figure out who gets addicted and who doesn't. There's no magic to what your recovery process is going to look like. It's different for each and every person. But that's okay. That's okay. Whatever it takes to get you to that other side, that's what we're going to do. We're going to continue to support that path. And you have to really realize that there's some incredibly passionate people out there and programs that are here to help you. There's more treatment programs for addiction and mental health in Atlantic County and New Jersey than ever in our country's history. They're falling over each other. The problem is accessibility. The ability to access these programs, to figure out which one fits you. That's really, really difficult, and that can be a nightmare. You got to remember, I've been a police officer my entire adult life. I was a police officer in Atlantic City. I had incredibly good insurance. I had the type of insurance that they would come to your house 3 o'clock in the morning, pick you up, and take you to treatment. I did it over and over again, failed and failed and failed and failed and failed. And I turned that insurance card over when my child was in crisis. I have so many stories I can tell you that are just unbelievable. Trying to figure out where to send this person. Oh, we don't take her, she's not old enough. No, that's not the age group, it's a female. We don't do male. We don't do co-occurring. We don't do well, she does, she's heroin and she also is on crack. No, we don't do that. It is a nightmare, and it's very difficult, and it's still difficult today. Hope One Project, my people are experts at evaluating the person, understanding the process. We have over 50 treatment partners. We connect you, we don't give you a card until you call someone. We make that phone call for you. We make sure we get a partner that will take you, not in 2 days or 3 days, but will take you within hours. We transport you to that place. We make sure you get it. That's a big difference, right? Than telling someone, hey, you have a problem, or even coming forward and say, hey, I have a problem. Can I get, yeah, here's a card. Call this person, they'll help you out. This person is in an active addiction. How is that person calling them? That first step, that brave moment to literally share with another person. You don't want a card. You need someone not to hold your hand. You need someone to throw you on their back and carry you to the next step. And that's what Hope One does. And it does that because I needed someone to help me over 16 years ago. And maybe Allie would have been in a better place today. Again, she's doing great. She's in recovery. She's starting to get that beautiful smile back and the gleam in her face. And again, she's got the custody of her children, which is a truly amazing step for her.
Thank you. Before I move it over to Lisa for this question, first I want to commend you for that, because the fact that you did what you did, a lot of people may see it as harsh, but it's the reason she's alive today. I don't know if y'all understand that. It's the reason that she's able to have a birthday and still be here and still talk about it and still share her story. So that's powerful that you did that, and there's no shame in that. So I just wanted to share that and give you your roses. So I thought that was powerful. What was the question again?
When you first come on this, because it was joining us, how did you react? Did it make you feel like a bad parent or embarrassing?
Well, to answer that question honestly, when I first discovered he was doing actual drugs like heroin and things of that nature, I didn't even know what that was. I had never experienced it, never seen it, was completely ignorant to it. I knew he had dabbled in smoking pot and things like that kids do at times. But I saw these little tiny envelopes, and I was smart enough to know something was wrong. I found them in a disc holder, like how you have discs of music. I opened them because I felt like something was wrong. In my heart, I knew something was wrong. Searched his room, opened the disc holder, and there were these little packets. I screenshotted them. I sent them to somebody who I knew had experience with drugs, and they told me what they were. And I can't even describe to you how I felt. I was absolutely floored, absolutely floored. I never had any experience with something like this. None of my friends had any experience with that. And it was very, very challenging. It was completely challenging because I felt very isolated. I was alone in that world. And it was very challenging trying to get into treatment, and I didn't know how to navigate it. And at that time, I wish I had the knowledge that I have now, as a Hope One, as all these resources, but I did not. And I struggled through that, and that was a nightmare in itself. So to answer your question, it was very, very shocking and very, very difficult at that time.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions?
Are you asking if I feel like Matthew's story is inspiring to help other people? Absolutely, yes. Because he was a regular kid, in a regular family, in a very traditional family, very loved, super duper talented, socially accepted. This is someone who was so special. And you would say, why would you her, why? And I think the most important thing for you guys to understand too is the mental illness piece.
Yes.
If you feel like something is wrong, it is, and I always say that. If you feel anxiety, if you feel depression, it's okay to say that. It's okay to ask for help, whether if it's too hard to ask for parents, you have a place like this to come. There's a lot of different resources. You have counseling at school, so on and so forth. So yes, so I think Matthew's story is inspiring. Absolutely. Yes.
Does anybody else have a question? Go ahead, Sean.
I have a question. I know we're talking a lot about the after effects that we're going through rehab and stuff like that. I guess my question is, what can we do that's differently to prevent the reactions, to actually prevent becoming addiction, as opposed to waiting for it to start and sound stepping down? What can we do beforehand to signify this issue in the first place?
It's a great question. It's a very difficult answer. Because the reality of it is that we're led to active addiction for many, many reasons. It could be you made a bad choice and you tried a prescription drug and all of a sudden that made you feel good, or your brain chemistry changes. It could be that you have a learning disability, and the anxiety and the depression that overwhelms you in school when you're called upon, and all of a sudden when you're hanging out with your friends and maybe you drank and you smoked a little bit or something, and you don't feel that anymore, and it made you feel different. We're not 100% sure how it all starts. And it's one of the things when I had an opportunity to work at Mainland Regional High School between being a police officer and being sheriff, and the superintendent at the time, who's still there, a really incredible gentleman, Superintendent Marone, had the foresight to be able to listen to me and talk about, prevention is really the model, right? Absence is a great idea. For some of you, it's an easy lift, but for others of you, it's not. And we don't really know which ones that it's going to work for. And he started talking about recovery as a pathway and understanding that. But I think Lisa made a really good point. If you have anxiety, if you are depressed, there's something going on. And there are things that you can deal with through a lot of different processes. Breathing techniques, yoga, cooking, and being actively involved in all kinds of other ways. And if you recognize that in yourself, then you should come forward. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being a little afraid. There's nothing wrong with having anxiety. Everyone has it. And the reason why I share my story is I want you to realize, regardless of where you go in life, regardless of what statute, I'm the highest ranking sworn police officer in Atlantic County. I have over 25 years in policing, but this has affected my family in a great deal. We all are affected. And by sharing and explaining to each other that, and being brave enough to share our stories, regardless of where they are, you can get help. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Thank you.
Did you want to speak on it, or?
No, sure.
I got a question about it.
Okay.
How do we promote therapy?
How do you promote therapy?
How do we promote therapy? Right now, we're therapy with that exactly, especially how do we change? How do we promote it where our young adults, our teens are more open and accepting to it, so they know they had an avenue before they try that prescription.
That's good. Yeah.
That's an incredibly important concept, right? So, not unlike the general public, law enforcement has its own problems because of the stigma and what you're talking about, therapy, what it is, and how you promote it. Well, there's a lot of different ways, and one of the thought processes that I always had is let's start it when they're really young, right? Let's start in kindergarten a process of resiliency and what that looks like, and what resiliency looks like. And I don't know, anyone ever heard the word resiliency? Yeah, it's a big buzzword today. It's all over the place. But if we learn to build resiliency within our own lives, that part of resiliency is understanding that, going forward and getting help is an important, powerful pathway, right? So it becomes, we have to make it normal. We have to normalize, the concept of asking for help. The truth of it is, you've got a lot of different ages in here. We all want to be independent. We all want to be strong. We all want to be the one that you rely on. We all want to be that person, right? And I told you before, you're supported today, so am I. I don't care where you go. I don't care what you achieve. I don't care how much money you have. You will always be supported. Understand that. And that means one of the part about being supported is reaching out and asking for that support. Because we cannot be successful in anything we do, regardless of who we think we are. There is no man, there's no woman who is self-made. It does not exist. They're there because other people help them get there.
And that's one of the messages that we try to communicate now. Our kids, they don't have a problem for the most part when we're talking to us as individuals. But we also are trying to get them a little bit more comfortable to speaking to each other as a group, because we believe them as peers will probably help their friends or each other a little bit more than we do. So we're always open to ideas and suggestions to how we can try to enforce that and encourage them, and we want them to understand that you are your friends really best open. Before they open up and they come to us, they're more likely to share things with you. And we want to figure out how to promote therapy and let them know, okay, yes, you understand something is going on inside your home. It's okay to get therapy. It's okay to ask for help and things of that nature.
Think how difficult it is as an adult when a friend comes to you with an issue and you're like, whoa, I don't know how to deal with that.
You're sharing way too much, right? I mean, every adult in this room can actually, kind of think, oh, wow, please don't tell me that, But because we don't understand how to help our friend, how to help our spouse, how to help our other person, right? But what is it culturally since kindergarten, we teach people resiliency as we grow up? And, I'm sure, Stephanie and the team here is looking at resiliency programs, and, I'd love to be a part of it and help as well. But if we taught children from kindergarten about resiliency and connection and pathways, it would then be commonplace for all of us, right? It wouldn't be this foreign thing that, whoa, don't tell me that. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to help you, And that's an adult. If you're, a teenager or even younger, and you're having these issues and you're sharing them with another person, if they can't help themselves, how are they going to help each other? Well, they would be able to if they were given the training and the background and the foundation to be able to develop that. Wouldn't that be pretty cool, pretty interesting?
That's good. That's good.
I can speak firsthand on that. First of all, my family here knows that my children are not biologically mine, but they are mine. I've been in their lives since they were here. And in our culture, in the Black culture, and I have to say it this way, having therapy means something is wrong with you. And our Black families feel that pride, that sense of pride that says, you should not go to anyone with your business. Your business stays inside. How many of us have here heard that? We hear that on a regular basis, correct? And so our families feel as though having to go to a therapist means you're crazy. No, it just means that I need someone to help me figure out how to work this out, because in my mind, I literally am going crazy. I need that help. I don't know how to speak to someone correctly. I don't know how to trust another woman or trust a man. I don't know how to speak to my peers and hear what they have to say. I don't trust that he's gonna keep my most dearest secret without hurting me or helping me. But to speak to a therapist means that we have something wrong. My children have had therapy since they were 8, 9, and 10. And I was told by one therapist that we don't want to fix them. And this is nothing against the therapist. We don't want to fix them, we just want to help them. No, we don't want to fix them. We want them to see that they can be helped and that there is no such thing as being fixed. You hear all your life, you don't fix it if it ain't broken. Well, how do you know if it's broken if you've never asked a question? And how do you know if it's broken if you never impose those questions on your young men who, when they walk out the door, don't know if they're gonna keep their lives from a stray bullet or a bullet from an official? Or young women who don't know if they're gonna keep their lives when they walk down the street from a boyfriend or from a stray bullet. So it's very intense when you talk about therapy, because no one wants to tell anyone that they are seeing a therapist. And when I hit the stage is my therapy, because I'm very exposed in front of people that some of the people I don't know. But you know what helps me? Knowing that you'll be healed by some of the words that have been spoken. Knowing that you can be okay crying in a crowd full of people that you don't know, because something that came across that mic is going to touch you or pierce you in your heart. And knowing that someone cares, someone's been through it. So when we talk about therapy, you're absolutely right. How do we get them to take the therapy? By simply stating to them, you can be who you are, the same person that you are, when you walk in this door, seeing that therapist, and look them straight in the eye and say, I don't know you, but I need help. I don't trust you, but I was sent here because they say you have the best help possible for me. And when we are in the kitchen, we talk about this all the time. The best conversations, and some of our children, our members, healing moments, come over a plate of food. They sit in that cafe, we hear it all, and we're like, sometimes we do that because we do have some funny moments, but we're like, wait a minute, that's a moment. And we go back and we question them, or we talk about it. And we don't badger them, we just open up a plate of food and say, you know what? Today, I felt that same way. That's our therapy. And so sometimes we don't know what therapy is or what it feels like, but it's okay to talk to someone because you need help, because you're feeling lost and you don't know how to get out of something. You don't know how to steer away from peer pressure, you know? So we do have to have those conversations and open it so all of our children can find their friend, their brother, their sister right here at this moment, because it's necessary.
All right, so we have a few more minutes, and I'm gonna leave the floor open for questions. Does anybody else have a question as we're beginning to come to a close? Nobody have a question? You have a question, Ian?
Yeah. Well, before I ask my question, I'm sure like you guys have like those athletes like in our community that like see as like these like superstars. Like Matt was that for Matt was that for us. Like Matt is crazy. Like I honestly didn't know until like we started like talking about having this program. But like Matt, everybody was talking about. I actually thought that Matt was Michael Gorilla at first. Because like they both had like I thought he was abbreviated or something, but his actual last name would be. But Matt was a superstar. Like I had an opportunity to meet Matt when we played on the All Stars for ACJFL, and he's a light man for real. Like he's funny. He's like just down to earth. He's like a humble guy. Like I had an amazing time meeting him, and like it's sad that he's not here, but I'm so proud of his mom for like keeping the light going, because like really wasn't like for the league and everything. But my question is, like, how did you see the signs? Like, what are the signs? Like, where did you start? No, I'm asking.
I can answer that. Especially in Matthew's case, with someone who was so popular and socially active, and I think the first sign is withdrawal. When you start to see somebody withdraw from their friends, their family. I mean, Matthew was very, very close to his family, very, very close to his friends. You can attest that he was the leader of his peers. And they, his friends all adored him, up to him, and slowly but surely you saw that disappeared. And that was my very first clue, is withdrawal. So I think that's a very, very good sign when someone starts to withdraw from their families, their friends. You see personality changes that you haven't seen before. And as I said before, if you think something is wrong, it is.
There's a question on Facebook, I just sent it to.
Okay, question on Facebook. All right. What are ways that youth can avoid peer pressure and bullying when it comes to someone offering you or trying to make you do something that you are uncomfortable with? So I think your question.
Another difficult question, but the truth of it is you have to share it with another person. You have to share that someone's doing that to you with an adult, someone that you trust, that might have a little bit more power than you. Does that make sense? Yeah. Because when we keep that in ourselves, then you are faced with that challenge, that ultimate decision all by yourself, and that whole world can crash down. I spoke about the world crashing down on the weight of the world. But once you say, hey, to your older brother, to your mother, to a counselor, to a trusted friend, hey, I got these people doing this to me. You open up, you share that, you get a world of support and resources behind it.
I would just say the same thing that the sheriff just said. You gotta find somebody you trust. 90% of the people that have nosy friends end up slipping up and saying something to what they consider their nosy friend. And guess who usually gets them out of whatever's going on? That one particular nosy friend that they call nosy, but that loves them no matter what, will go and say something to someone they trust and say, they want to say, okay. So you definitely have to find someone to open up to. From as hard as that may be, it's easier said than done. It's easier said than done. So you definitely have to, if you have close friends, don't be afraid to share what's really going on in your heart, or what you feel is a danger to you, or what you feel someone else is not respecting you over. You gotta share it. Even if you just write it down, it's still being shared, right?
So as we're closing this out, actually I'm going this side to find more space. As we're closing this out, I wish Facebook could see you all, because you have done amazing at paying attention and also engaging, and I truly appreciate that, because you're all an extension of all of the staff here. So you've been amazing for our guests and also for Elle as well. The reality is this, and we're going to close out with this. I'm going to have you guys make like a final statement, any words of encouragement or advice or insight before we're done and we wrap this up. But the reality is, some people still have to touch the fire to understand what's going on. So you want to get the information, we're going to give you the resources, give you all the tools, all the love and the help, and you still don't want to touch the fire and get burned, right? That's just the reality of it, because by nature, we're curious people. How many of you have been on a vacation that's not in Atlantic City? That's out of state, like a nice vacation. Quite a few of you, right? And vacation was great, right? You would say, right? You can talk back to me. Vacation was good, right? But then you had to come back home, right? It's the same thing with drug addiction, everything that they're sharing. They say weed is a quick vacation. But what happens after the vacation? You have to come back to your reality. You have to come back to your real life.
It's not easy.
It's not easy. It comes back work. When I went to Miami for the first time, it was incredible. I came back home and they dropped us off at the Philadelphia airport and I was depressed. It was raining, it was terrible. I came back worse than I left. And it's the same exact thing with drugs. So you don't want to chance it. You don't want to be like, I'm gonna just try it this one time. Because that's literally all it takes is that one time. And anybody that's encouraging you and pushing you to try this thing, they don't necessarily love you at all. Because they're putting you in harm. They're putting you in a position to become addicted. They're putting you into a position to possibly go to prison. They're putting you in a position to possibly go to jail. So those people don't love you. What you think is cool is not necessarily cool. I have a therapist. I love my therapist. She's great. It's like my car out there. I have my car, I get oil changes. It's not because the car is broke, but it's because I don't want it to mess up. So therapy is a great thing. And it took me 30 years to figure that out. And because I know that now, we want to share that with you. We want to make that the cool thing. Holding your feelings in, not the cool thing. Smoking weed, not the cool thing. I got a brother that's addicted right now. Doing other drugs, not the cool thing. Getting the help you need, using the resources you have here, and then succeeding, making legal money, that's the cool thing. When you can take care of yourself and your family and your household. Those are the cool things. So really think about everything you heard tonight. Really appreciate it. Appreciate the resources here. Appreciate them taking the time out of their evenings to come and share this information with you. Appreciate everyone here that's extending their loving hand to you. This stuff is extremely valuable because if we didn't care, we wouldn't be sharing it with you. So that's all I had to say. Do any of you have any closing remarks, any words of encouragement, anything you would like to share?
I just want to thank you for being here tonight and listening to my story, and I hope that it inspires you to be a leader, to say no to drugs, and to know the risks and danger. As it was said, it only takes one time to become addicted, and only one time to lose your life. So before somebody pushes you to do something, think twice. Be stronger than that, be braver than that, and stay safe. Thank you.
I just want to also thank Stephanie and your team for giving us the opportunity to come out and speak with you tonight and share with you our stories. The reality of what we're trying to communicate with you is that we just want you to communicate, and find an avenue to be able to communicate your feelings, your thoughts, with your friends, with peers, with mentors, and you'll have a healthier and happier life. So God bless you all. Have a happy holidays. Thank you again for letting me be here.
First of all, thank you guys for allowing me to even, I talk to y'all on behind the counter in the kitchen all the time, but this is a different setting. I was nervous too. I was not nervous. I'm like, Chef's like, you'll be all right, you'll be all right. I'm like, but this is a different setting because I'm so passionate about it. And you guys mean the world to me. So what I'll say is the same thing that I say to my teenagers, to my children. I will tell you to be your best self. And if you can't do anything about what's going on out here, but one thing, that's don't get involved. Walk away. Because your life depends on you being okay. And your journey depends on you succeeding. You must succeed. When you look into the mirror, there's only one person that you'll see, and that's yourselves. I say that to my sons all the time. You gotta talk to you in the mirror. You have to challenge you in that mirror. And if you want to succeed, you gotta say no to some of the things that may very well lose you friends and family and people that you think's been in your corner for a long time. I need you to succeed. I need you to survive.
We need you to succeed and we need you to survive. Okay?
All right, everyone, that is the end of our town hall. Again, I want to thank all of you for just being present in this moment. I know it's challenging to sit still and listen and engage. You guys are in front of computers all day doing virtual learning, which is terrible. And you're doing a great job. And again, I just want to give one more round of applause for our speakers. So I'll give it up for them one more time. For everybody that's on Facebook, please share this, like it, add some comments, tag somebody you know who can help. And if you guys are on Facebook, share it as well. I don't think you're on Facebook, but if you are, please share this as well. So thank you, and everyone have a good night. Y'all still be here. Y'all can listen.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thanks, Sheriff. That was also.